you have experience on HTML5, CSS, JavaScript.
Yes, yes. ES6 also.
What about unit testing?
Yeah, I worked on the with the Jasmine. So we have written whatever component I'm creating in the library, I have to write test cases for it as well. So we do write for them as well. So what are the things the consumer app want to be we want to make sure that what our component are expecting from the consumer app. So because of that, we have to write all these things and we have to publish that into the storybook as well. So with the help of the storybook, they also got to know about so what kind of this component is there. So this is how we test our component as well, and the consumer also will know that so what kind of the things we are approaching for this component.
Okay, fine. So in HTML5, suppose that if I want to display one page inside another page, how will do that?
Okay, so so we can use a iframe. So with the help of iframe, we can create we can pass the source over there. So it can embed that whatever iframe over there. Suppose when we go to the blog website, so we usually show the jsfiddle.net code of the thing. So we get that the embedded URL from them, and we just I put that embedded URL to the iframe. So it will automatically show the that iframe inside the our blog page. So that kind of the thing we can do with the iframe.
What are the different types of doc types?
So doc type we have earlier we have to pass some version over there. So right now we use only HTML doc type. So it tells the it is running on the HTML5. So whatever we have written in the doc in the HTML body, it will be approaching for the latest version of the HTML5. But I am not remember the exact type of it. So we usually pass HTML is by default there is a HTML right now. So that tells the latest version of the document whatever we are trying to load into the browser.
Yeah, fine. So, do you have any experience on unit testing?
Yeah, that I told jest we are using for Angular to test.
Okay, fine. So, in JavaScript, what all the way we can create objects?
Okay, so we can create with the help of the directly let object and whatever the object name we have to pass. Then we have to use object.assign is over there. So we can create whatever existing object we can pass directly to that. So this is the second way. Third way will be the suppose I have already one object that can directly assign to the object 2. So like that let object 2 equal to object 1. So it will create a directly a reference copy of that object. So these are some common ways we can use to create an object in the JavaScript.
So, what is hoisting?
Okay, so yeah, so basically what happens, our Angular application runs into the two phases. Sorry, JavaScript application, when we write our code, we have the two phases or the compilation phase and execution phase. While the hoisting what does for us, so whatever variable with the var keyword, then if we created variable with a var, then we have declared some functions, then we have some classes. So all these things it will put at the top of the page, means it will have some memory location allocated before its execution. So this is hoisting. So with the help of that, suppose I have created some variable that I am assigning that value at line number 10. So whatever, if you try to access that variable before line number 10, so it will be default undefined. So these things done with the hoisting. So while talking about the let and const, so these are also going to hoist, but that will be not attached to the global object. So if we debug our application and if you see the source over there, so we have two script over there. There is a script block and there is a global block. So hoisting go attached to the whatever variable or functions, everything will be attached to the global. And while talking about the let and const, those are the block levels. So those are also hoisted, but that are the part of the script block. So that kind of the things is not going to hoist for us. So that will be the temporal dead zone for that application.
So, what is closure?
Okay. So yeah, so closure is nothing but the way we are accessing some variable from the outside. So we can say that the it's kind of the lexical scope. Suppose I have one inner function, it has some variable, and it has a one parent function that parent also has a some variable. And apart from the parent, we have at the global scope we have some variable. So the inner function can have access of its own, then parent and the global scope. So these are the kind of the things comes with the closure. So it can access the lexical scope of the each variable. So while talking about the closure security, so if we have some variable, those are inside an parent or inner function, that kind of we can say that the jobs that kind of the thing will be in the help of the security wise we can use. So we are not able to access those kind of the variable outside of the closure. So with the help of that closure, we can achieve such kind of the things.
Okay, fine. Suppose that we have an array, okay? Hello.
Yes, yes, I can hear.
Suppose that we have an array and I want to delete some item in between from the array. How will do that?
Okay, so you want to delete from beginning or end or any index.
Yeah, any index.
Okay, okay. So suppose I have array like a array 1 2 3, and I want to delete the last index, so I can do array dot pop. And if I want to remove from the beginning, then I can use a shift. So with the help of that, we can remove from the first and last. And if I want to remove from the middle, then I can pass the index, whatever index I have. Suppose I want to remove from the second index, so I can pass a delete array of whatever element over there, so we can remove that.
Hello.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
What all the way we can manage the state in JavaScript?
State in JavaScript. State in the sense of variable state or something else?
Yeah, that value,
Okay,
return the value.
so
Like,
while talking about the variables, so we have a local scope and a global scope, sorry, function scope and the local scope. So if I are creating some variable with the help of the let, so it will be accessible inside the scope of the block only. So that kind of the let state will be for the block only. So if we are creating the variable with a var, then it will be having the function scope. So the state is nothing but for the that variable will be accessible into that functions only. And while talking about the global scope or global state, so if we don't declare var or let, so it will be behave as a global for us. So that variable has a state of the global state, we can say.
uh, what is event flow?
Okay, yeah. So basically when we write our application, so what happens? So each line go to the call stack basically. So each line get to the call stack, and it get popped from them, and then once it get executed, it will get removed from the call stack, and the whatever the next line we have, that goes to the execution of the call stack. So the event loop, when we used, basically what happens, suppose we are using the set timeout or some promise API or interval, such kind of the thing. So event loop what does, it is continuously checking the each call stack is empty or not. So suppose I have used a set timeout, so it will be pushed into the callback queue. And suppose I have some promises, then it will go to the micro task queue. So what will happen? So event loop does what? So it will keep tracking of the call stack. So if it is empty, then we have right now promise and set timeout. So promise has a more precedence than the set timeout. So what happens? So it will keep track of the global stack as well, and the micro task queue as well. So as soon as the global scope get executed, so it will pop from the microtask queue the promise, and it will push to the call stack. And once that also get executed, now the term comes to the call stack. So sorry, it will come to the callback queue. So right now the set timeout will be popped from the callback queue, and it will push to the global stack. So from there it will get executed. So we can say that it continuously checks the call stack to is it free or not for to run the microtask queue or a callback queue.
What is difference between null and undefined?
Okay, Yeah, so basically we can say that the null is nothing but kind of the value, as it is kind of the data type also we have in the JavaScript. So we can assign a null as a value to something. Suppose I have person object, and while submitting something, I want to delete, I want to remove from the first name and last name. So I can, what can I can do directly? I will assign person equal to null. So it will, the object will be the null. Okay, and while talking about the undefined, as I mentioned, we mentioned into the hoisting. So variable is declared, but we have nothing assigned, no value is not assigned to it. So before assigning that value, that will be the whatever the things where we are trying to access that variable, that will be the undefined value over there. So with the help of the hoisting, it will attach to the as a undefined to it. So yeah.
So how you will redirect new page in JavaScript?
How we redirect to?
New page in JavaScript.
Okay, so we use anchor tag with the href. So it will redirect it to the whatever href path we passed, it will get to redirect to the page. And while talking about if we want to open the link into the new tab, that at that time we have to pass target equal to blank. So it will target with the help of the current window, it will be blank. So that is why it will open to the new window for us.
Okay. What is callback method?
Callback in the event loop or just for callbacks? So hello? You mean to say
Yeah.
async? Okay, okay, I got it, your question. Okay, so callback is right now while we are talking about the JavaScript, it is the synchronous programming language. So while talking about the async programming, we have to use callback, then promises, then async await. So callback is nothing but it will have one function. It will run after some execution of the time. So suppose I have created what set timeout. So set timeout will access some. It will have the two parameters. One is the callback and one is the timer. So as soon as get timer get executed, that callback function will trigger. So with the help of the callback and promises and all, we can write asynchronous programming within the JavaScript.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry, I got disconnected.
What is promise?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, so while talking about the callback, so if we have multiple callback inside another callback, so what will happen? So it will create a pyramid kind of the thing inside the callback. So what will happen? So if someone new developer comes to the check that code, so it will be difficult to check that code. So that will be trigger the callback hell. So to override such kind of the things, we have used the promises. So promise has a two state over there, resolve or rejected. So if the promise get resolved, then we have to capture the whatever response from the resolve, it will get to the dot then. And if it get rejected, then we have to catch inside the we have to get that value inside the catch block. So we can say that it is the it is the simpler way to write a asynchronous programming in the JavaScript.
Okay. Why promise came to the picture?
Yeah, so promise came to the picture because of the callback only, callback hell only. So if we have nested callbacks inside another callback, so what will happen? So we are not able to track exactly what is happening inside another callback. So with the help of the promises, we can write a simpler way that the same kind of the code we can write with the help of we can write the dot then multiple times as well. So if we have multiple promises that is returning something, then we can create a promise chain as well. So it is a simpler version of the callbacks we can say.
So what is purpose of double exclamation?
Double exclamation. Okay, okay. So it helps us to change the state of the, suppose I have person object, and if I trying to the person is exist or not, so I do not write the person is not equal to null or not equal to undefined. Suppose the person is exist, and if I use a double negation, it will return that value to the boolean. So it will return true or false. So with the help of that, we can convert to the boolean. We use most of time into the Angular. So while checking the token is present or not inside the local storage.
Okay. So where we are?
We're talking about the double negation and all.
Okay, double exclamation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So about building responsive HTML pages from mockups?
Yes, we did. I did.
Okay.
So yeah, in the whatever component I have created inside that library, so that comes from the UX team. So they have created some generic components for us as a UX wireframe into the Figma. So that we have converted to the HTML. So as a responsive.
So okay. So comes to Angular. So in Angular, what is subject and what all the types of subjects are there,
Okay,
and what
okay.
is the purpose
So
of each subject?
yeah, okay. So basically, subject is nothing kind of it's a special kind of the observable for us, and it kind of behave as a subscriber as well. So to make a communication between two different interrelated, not the interrelated components. Suppose I want to make a communication between two components. At that time, we can prefer use a subject instead of going to the local storage and all. So what we can do, it can behave as a subscriber as well, and it can behave as a observable as well. So with the help of that, we can do communication between the multiple components if they are not interrelated as well. So while talking about the type of that subject, so subject is the first one, then we have the behavioral subject. So difference between subject and behavioral subject is that, so behavioral subject has an initial value, something initial value we have to pass it. So suppose I want to show some header over there with my account, something when user get logged in, it should show my name Pawan Patil. So at that time we can refer use of the behavioral subject. So I can use that subject behavioral subject value as a my account only, so before login. So once I get login, so we'll after the login we'll get some name from the backend, so we can convert that name, we can emit new value for whatever getting from the backend, so we can show the Pawan Patil over there. This is the second kind of thing as a behavioral. And we have the replace subject. So the difference between behavioral subject and replace subject is that, so replace subject has a buffer limit. So how much value it will hold from the previous value. Suppose we pass buffer as a 5, so it will have a 5 level of the data for that subject. So these are the three I know about the differences between these.
So what are the key components of Angular?
Components.
Yeah, key components.
Okay, key components. Okay, so basically while talking about the key components for the Angular, so we have data binding we have to use, then we have to use services, then we have to prefer to use ng module, then dependency injection, then we have the uh, directives, then I think 7 or 6 or 7 over there, so we have to use a dependency injection, as I told. So these are the key components to create an application into the Angular.
Okay. What is directives?
Okay, so directive is nothing but we have the multiple types of the directive. So component is component also one kind of the directive we have into the Angular. So but the difference between normal directive and the component directive is nothing but the component had its own template. So and while talking about the normal directive, it don't have any templates. So while talking about the directive only, we have a structural directive and the attributable directive. So while talking about the structural directive, suppose I want to do some manipulation inside the DOM or depend upon some condition. So at that time we prefer to use a structural directive. So we have multiple structural directive, then ng class, then ng if, then ng for we use most of time. So these are the structural directive to make the changes into the DOM. And talking about the behavioral directive, so suppose I want to create a dynamic button for the success state and the danger state, or a cancel state. So what I can do, I will pass some directive over there, and I will pass some value to it. So depend upon the whatever value we are passing to that directive, it will change the color for that. So that the button will be a host listener for us, and whatever changes we are doing into the directive, that will be the host binding for us. So with the help of that, we can achieve the two different states of the colors over there. So we don't need to write some CSS for the multiple places. So with the help of that directive, we can achieve some kind of the things. Hello.
Yeah. Okay. So what is lazy loading? How to achieve that?
Okay. So basically lazy loading is nothing but we can say that the load a page or a module on demand. So while talking about the eager loading, what will happen? So whatever route we have created into the route.ts file, so it will get attached to the bundle at the beginning only. So with the help of lazy loading, we can achieve the performance, optimize the performance for our Angular application. So to achieve that, we have to create a module first. So with the help of the CLI command, ngg generate module and whatever the module name. Suppose I create a my profile. So it will create a module over there for us, and it will whatever we have to add the component will add to the inside that. So and to write the suppose I want to write route as a my profile. When I hit that my profile, it should go to that module. So to do that, I have to add that path into the app.route.ts file. Inside that, I have to pass a load children, and I have to pass that the module over there. So with the help of dot then we can load that module as a lazy. So we have to push dot then. Suppose I create m, then m dot whatever module I am trying to access there. So when I click on that my profile, at that time only it get a load to the DOM.
Okay. So can you explain me the life cycle hooks, Angular life
Okay.
cycle hooks?
Yeah, correct. Okay. So basically we follow a class base inside the Angular. So as we are using the class based structure inside that with the help of the TypeScript, so constructor get called first, then we have the ng do check, then we have ng on init, then when we have the ng on changes, then content init, then content checked, then view init, view checked, and at the last ng destroy. So these are the common lifecycle hooks we have into the Angular.
Okay. What is the use of constructor?
Okay, so while talking about injecting our services from the outside, suppose I have some user service and I want to use that inside my Angular application. So what will happen? So I can inject inside the constructor. So whatever dependency we are using into the Angular or inside the our lifecycle methods, so it should be there before starting our lifecycle hooks. So for that we have to use a constructor. So we are just injecting whatever properties we are using from the services. So as it get load first before the execution of the lifecycle, so it ensures that the whatever the dependency I required for this component, it should be present over there while I'm accessing that. So constructor works for us that.
What is metadata?
Okay, so metadata is nothing but a kind of the thing. So while talking about the Angular metadata, sorry, component metadata, so we have multiple things to be passed to that the metadata. So we have a template URL, then a style URL over there, then we have a component layer. Sorry, the whatever the spec file over there. So the metadata is nothing but it holds the all the dependent values for that component. So we can use a view encapsulation over there or chain detection over there. So we can say that it will hold everything whatever required to for that component to us. Or we can talk about the ng module. So it ensures that the whatever dependencies we required for the application, it will hold for us to from the beginning of the application. So metadata works for us like that.
What is dependency injection?
Okay, yeah. So basically, while talking about the dependency injection, suppose I have created one user service and I want to access that service into the multiple pages at the single level. So what I can do, I can pass injectable as a root over there. So it will be available at the root of the each of the components. Suppose I pass that inside the provider, so it will have only one what we can say only one object will be created for it. So with the help of the tree shaking, so it will not create a multiple instances of the same kind of the same service. Multiple instance it will not call. So same injectable root service will be accessible into the multiple components. So it helps us to write a code into the fashion where we have the singleton object will be created for us for the service.
Okay, if we are making service as singleton, what need to be done?
We have to pass as a root over there, providing equal to a root. So it will be having the root level access for each component.
Okay. So suppose that if you will use a script tag inside a template, what will happen?
Escape tag.
A
Script tag. Okay. So suppose we are trying to do such kind of thing. So Angular sanitizer what does for us? So while compiling our building our module or files, it will show you error inside the console only. So we are using some script block and we are blocking that from the adding to the DOM. So it will show you a warning inside the console. So it will say that you are accessing some script block inside the template. So we are blocking and we have sanitized it. So sanitize method is there. So it does for us.
So what is difference in pure and impure pipes?
Okay. So yeah, so basically impure pipe is nothing but it will get trigger when the anything change into the DOM. Suppose I have some name variable, it get changed to Pawan to Patil. At that time as well, impure pipe get try to run whatever the dependency we are passing to the pipe. So the difference between pure and impure is nothing but suppose I are using a filter inside the depend upon some input. I am doing some filtration into the table. So the pure pipe what does on it will run only when the target input box get changed. So it will be run only the value get changed into the box only, text box only. At that time it will run. And while talking about the impure, so anything get changed into the DOM, it will try to re-render the pipe for us. So this is the difference for us. So we should not use the impure pipe most of time in our Angular application. It will be a problem for us to improve the performance.
Okay, suppose that I want to uh, implement some token each and every request. How will do that?
You want to append some token to each request.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so we can use interceptor over there. So we can intercept whatever request is going to the backend, and we can attach whatever token we have over there into the header. So with the help of interceptor, we can do that. We have intercept method inside the interceptor. We can access request and response before going to the backend, or it is coming to the front end.
Okay. Can we have multiple interceptor?
Multiple interceptor. I have not used exactly, but okay. So suppose I create one interceptor, then if I trying to access another, I'm not sure, but maybe we can use or may not be, but not sure. I will check it. I have not tried it.
Okay. What all the types of compilers are there?
Okay, so types of compilers. So we can use a build, then we can use a serve, then we can use a prod build watch. So these are the compiler we have. So if I use a prod build, so what will happen? So it will be building a it can be work as a build for us. So it will create a dist folder for us and append the whatever changes we have written over there in the module. So it will
I'm
uh,
asking what are different types of compilation in it?
it's a compilation you are asking. I thought you were asking compile. Okay, so we have AOT and GIT. So AOT is ahead of time. So whatever things we have to run into the DOM, it will be created first, then the DOM get loaded. So it will not wait for to like the JIT. JIT will do all the compilation into the DOM. So it will be taking some time to load the application.
So in your browser there will be one section will be there that is live whiteboard for coding.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
So
You can
can you
see.
write, yeah, can you write simple code code there, like how to inject the dynamic script in Angular?
Dynamic script.
Yeah, suppose that you are injecting dynamic script in Angular, how you will do that?
Dynamic script. Dynamic script. Use service. I have not tried like the way directly accessing means attaching some script to the DOM into the Angular. Dynamic component we can create with the help of the dynamic provider and all, but dynamic script, no, I have not tried that. I will check it.
What are the class decorators are there in Angular?
Can you come again?
What are the class decorators in Angular?
Class decorator.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so we have multiple decorators into the Angular. So like @ng module, then @component, then @input output, then view child, view children. These are a decorator we usually use to do the manipulation into the Angular application.
How do you optimize the performance of what all the types of validators are there?
Types of validator.
Yeah.
Okay, so while talking about the reactive forms, we have multiple validators over there. So we can use you're talking about forms, correct?
Yeah, it's formed in reactive forms.
Okay. Yeah, so we have required, then we have min length, max length, then we have pristine we can use, then we use a valid, invalid, then we use our we can write our custom validator as well. Suppose I have some password and confirm password, at that time we can confirm, check the both the value are correct or not. Depend upon that we can write our it will return some true or false, will be depend upon the comparison of the both the value. So these are some validator we can use inside the Angular. Then suppose I have some match kind of the thing, suppose the email pattern should be matched, so at that time we can use a pattern over there. So these kind of the things we can use with the patterns, with the reactive forms. Hello.
What are the types of injector hierarchy?
Injector hierarchy. Injector in terms of the service or some other thing.
Injectors in terms of modules, injector in terms of element.
In terms of module, main.ts will load first for us to
How to
inject.
inject component on module level?
How to
Inject. How to inject component on module level?
Okay, so you want you acha, got it. So you mean to say that I want to add a component at module level, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically we have to use a declaration inside the module, so we can attach our component into the declaration. So with the help of that, module will be accessible that component to the that component will be available for that module, so we can use anywhere in the router outlet that component. So,
in which all the scenarios chain detection works.
okay, so yeah, so basically if we do some manipulation from the suppose I have some click event, so depend upon some getting some API data, and we are pushing some data to the object, and object will be rendering into the DOM. So that is the one kind of the things. Then we have, that is the API call, we can say. Then we have set timeout, set interval. So it is keep changing something into the component level, so that should be trigger, that should be matched with the we can say that the DOM. So at that time it get trigger, and we can say that the these are the two things I know very well. And the third one, we can say that the button click or something. So at that time also the change detection will trigger. Suppose I have some button click and I want to do some hide and show some kind of the functionality, so that will get trigger on the button click as well.
Okay. Okay, can you write a simple program to reverse a string without using any inbuilt function?
Okay, so you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Can I write into the JS fiddle so I can test it over there? Hello?
Yeah, yeah.
I can copy paste over here after that.
Okay. Can share your screen? Yeah.
You can see my screen, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I can.
Okay. Okay. So we have to reverse this.
Yeah.
So without using reverse or something?
No, without using the means inbuilt function.
Inbuilt function, okay. Okay. So but I can use split and all, correct? So I can split that values to the string, and I can make as a reverse like that. I can do.
Is it required for splitting?
Okay, let me think. I have string that I want to reverse. Without the reverse, if we talk about the built-in, we can split it, then we can reverse and again join, so it will return it everything. And without, so without, so it will be okay. Let so it will give me okay. If I do like this, then it will give me one by one. Then I want to use like this. So if I do item equal to length, this one, okay. Input, then item should be greater than or equal to 0, then item minus minus. Is equal to oops. It is showing that reverse, it is attaching as a blank to it before. Okay, so if it should be not like this, then still attaching. It is reversing it, but it is attaching the undefined, but I'm trying to equal to undefined, not equal to undefined or something. Why it is attaching? Okay, -1. Yeah, so I have added array dot reverse. I did like this. So what I did over here, so I have taken the length, whatever the length I have here, and doing the minus minus each time. So we are getting each value from here, and we are pushing to the output one and consoling it.
Okay.
So should I copy this and paste over there?
Yeah. So comes to CSS. What is Z index?
What?
Z index.
Z index. Okay. So basically, suppose I want to show a model, suppose, or a pop-up or something, depend. What we can say for it. Suppose I have one div and I want to show some div upon above it. So at that time, what I can do, I will pass that index Z index to higher than the whatever div I am using. So at that time, most of time, whenever we are creating a bootstrap module, so at that time it attached to the 999. So these are the value. It will show that it has a more precedence while talking about the showing to the DOM. So with the help of Z index, we can say that it will show something upon a div or something.
Okay. What is opacity?
Yeah, opacity is nothing but, suppose we have written something into the CSS and I want to make it as a blur, or if we want to make a little bit what we can say, the color dull, so or something like that. So at that time we can pass opacity 0 to between 10. So 10 is the highest and 0 will be the lowest. So if we pass 0, then it will not show into the DOM.
What is difference Flexbox and grid.
Yeah, so Flexbox is nothing but it helps us to do a manipulation into the 2D, and grid will do the 3D. So single item we can use to make align the elements into the with the help of the grid. So that is kind of the things we can do with the help of grid.
Okay. What is pseudocode and what is pseudo element?
Okay, yeah. So pseudo classes or pseudo code is nothing but suppose on the button hover I want to show something, or I want to change the color of the button or something do a manipulation I want to do. So at that time what I can do, button colon hover. So I can write some CSS for it. So when I hover that button, it will show some CSS whatever we have written with the pseudo class. And while talking about the pseudo element, we can uh, pseudo with the help of the pseudo element we can change the, suppose I want to I have one paragraph and I want to show the first text as a bold or some different CSS, or I want to make the font size of bigger. So what I can do, I can write parag p colon first letter, or first letter will be there over there. So with the help of that we can write some font size to the 10 or 20 or something. So it will make it as a bold or something to the first character of that sentence only. So yeah, so this is kind of the thing we can do with the pseudo element and pseudo class.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.